Hey guys, sitting down here. This is gonna be my chapter review to One Piece 957 Ultimate. Now, this was a big ass chapter. There was, oh my god, so much went on this chapter, and it was crazy. We got bounties, we got backstories, we got freaking previous previous people's backstory, well, kind of backstories slash bounties. We got so much shit this chapter, and you know what? I was gonna write up like a summary kind of what we saw, so that it'd be really condensed. But it would take me like a solid day to go through the chapter, and just, well, it wouldn't take me a solid day. It'd take me a couple hours, and I really just want to talk about this chapter and not have to write it up first. So this review is probably going to be all over the place. I've got the chapter opened up already, but I'm just going to talk through it from the first page to the last. We got a good 20-page chapter. It's probably going to be a little bit long, but let's get through it. So the first thing we come to is New World Marine Headquarters. And you have Akainu talking to Fujitora or Issho, and he's talking about the abolition of the seven warlord system, the Shichibukai system, and he's like, you must be satisfied, this is something that you always wanted, and we never saw to it eye to eye. Eye to eye with Issho. I was like, you're gonna say eye to eye to a blind guy? Like, really? I understand Issho cut out kind of his own eyes. He damaged his own eyes somehow, some way, but you're gonna say that line to a blind guy, really? But yeah, Akainu was just like, he seems to be kind of he's concerned about the abolition of the seven warlord system, and we'll come to the reason why later. He actually brings it up, but Issho is kind of just there. Fujitora, he's saying, you know what? He's talking to Akainu. He's giving him some smack. He's like, you still think the warlords were necessary? Despite all the shit that we had to go through, all the sacrifices we had to make for their sake. Covering up their crimes, making it look like they were on our side, all that kind of stuff, and basically paying them out. It must be because you've never personally suffered under them. And I was like, yeah, that's a good point. But then he says, let's just put our faith in the SSG going forward. And I think that's the Special Science Gov Unit or some shit like that. SSG. I forgot what it stands for. Someone actually mentioned it in one of the Reddits. But it's some sort of special science unit, which I assume Vegapunk is in charge of. And that's what they're hoping will like plug in this void that the Shichibukai are leaving. But Fujitora is very aware that the balance of power will be shaken, and this is where Akainu's like, he's gonna drop some bombs on Fujitora. He's like, oh, okay, that's cool. I know you got all this on lock, but has it ever occurred to you that this might actually make things change for the worse? Now that the Shichibukai are gone, guess what's happened in Wano, big guy? Big Mom and Kaido have formed an alliance, and Issho, you can see that panel, his face, he shit his pants. He's like, the fuck? Like, what the hell are you talking about? And then he asks the obvious questions, which is, does this mean the Rocks have returned? And I was like, oh my god, they're going to talk about the Rocks again. We have no idea who the Rocks are. All we know is there's some badass crew, which Kaido and Big Mom were a part of when they were younger. But we don't know anything else about them, so I was a little bit like, annoyed. Like, yeah, you're going to mention the Rocks and not speak about them again? Akainu is just there like, you know what, stop talking like there's some kind of legend. This is a reality we're facing, and for it to happen at this time when we're all so busy, it's a disaster, because they're all going after the Shichibukai at the moment, going to go and bring them in. Their power has been divided, and their resources have been divided so sparsely across the world to go and capture the Shichibukai, that now they're kind of open. And if essentially Big Mom and Kaido turn their eye towards the world government, they're up shit creek. So we're still in Marine HQ. Everyone's reacting to, the two emperors have allied. Oh my god, all that good shit. But this is where I was actually very surprised. Oda decides, you know what, this is the chapter where I'm going to talk about the Rocks Pirates. So we go straight into that. So one of the guys there, I've forgotten his name, Sengoku actually mentions it, but he says there hasn't been any damage done yet as of Big Mom and Kaido teaming up. We've no real information. We don't know what they're planning. No countermeasures prepared. And what we know, or in truth, we know almost nothing about the legendary Rocks Pirates. So because Kaido and Big Mom in particular have teamed up, they're very afraid of this kind of Rocks mythology, because Big Mom and Kaido were both part of that crew. So this is when Sengoku, being the veteran, one of the previous generation's heroes, and big guys essentially, he's like, you know what, it's about time that you guys learn about the Rocks Pirates. So he's talking about how Big Mom and Kaido have been fighting like cats and dogs, but no one is really, there's no history that's been written so much on the Rocks Pirates. And this is where we get the exposition. So many years ago, this whole chapter is an information dump. Like, it just information being thrown like freaking monkeys throwing shit at a zoo everywhere. Every panel of this chapter has information that is necessary and that is awesome and makes you feel good about this shit. So many years ago on the Pirates Island Beehive, many significant individuals came together to seek a quick path to fame and fortune. So this is many significant individuals came. So it's not just Big Mom and Kaido. There were other people as well. And they met on the island, which is surprisingly Beehive Island, which is where Blackbeard and his crew have kind of, that's the island which they've made their base. I think it's called Pirates Island Beehive or something like that. And that meeting of these individuals who wanted like a quick path to fame and fortune, that led to the formation of the Rocks Pirates. They were a violent group, killing friends, killing foes, and its members included Whitebeard, freaking Whitebeard, like someone who was in direct, not in opposition, but who was in direct competition with the king of freaking pirates. He was on this group when he was younger. So this is Whitebeard, dude. Big Mom, yeah, we knew that. Kaido, yeah, we knew that. And they were led by their captain, Rocks. And you see, like, Kaido stands really tall. Big Mom stands really tall. This is when she's slim. You see, what's his name? Whitebeard standing there really tall. And then you see this shorter guy in front of them all. And that's who I assume is Rocks. And he must have had the power and the ability to lead this type of crew. That's how much of a badass this motherfucker was. He was leading Whitebeard. A person was leading freaking Whitebeard, and then obviously Kaido. We learn later that this was when he was still an apprentice, essentially an up and coming pirate. And Big Mom might be slightly older than Kaido, so she was there when she was younger as well. So everyone's there shitting their pants, like, oh my god, these three used to be on the same ship. And then there were many others who Sengoku confirms were also under the Rocks Pirates. Who eventually made a name for themselves, such as freaking the Golden Lion Shiki, the Silver Axe Captain John, who is, for the longest of times, he's been in the manga from the perspective of Captain Buggy, or just Buggy the Clown, has been wanting to obtain his treasure. His treasure has been lost. There's a map towards his treasure, and we've been kind of following Buggy on this journey for a long time. But this dude was on the freaking Rocks Pirates. He wasn't just a joke, and he's not just a joke. He was actually someone legitimate, someone powerful as fuck, and he was on the Rocks Pirates. So, and then we had someone else called Ochoku, who J-Mini's box have said that he's known as Wang Shi. I'm not sure if that's actually pronounced Shi. I don't know. I don't know the Chinese letters, but Wang Shi Z, however it's pronounced, was a real Chinese pirate lord from the 16th century. Okay, but apparently he's some famous pirate. So everyone in the Marines is just like this is all well and good. We're all surprised and shit, but how come this isn't common knowledge? Sengoku gives us the obvious answers. He's like, everyone on that crew more or less hated the shit out of each other, so they downplayed each other's exploits. And I think more of what they did was when they did actually achieve something, when they did something crazy, when they murdered someone, when they blew up a town or an island or attacked a celestial dragon or some shit, they took credit for it personally. They didn't say, I did this as part of the Rocks Pirates. They didn't fly their banner or anything like that. They did it as an individual. That was my stomach going. And their captain, Rocks, his ambition was to become king of the world. And he talks more about how they were basically a terrorist group bearing their fangs at the world government. So they also had this hatred for the world government. They had some knowledge on the world government. So there must have been a reason why they didn't like the world government besides, just anarchy. Which is similar in a sense to, Goldie Roger, the Revolutionary Army, Luffy, and Straw Hat Crew, and basically a lot of other people, a lot of the pirates in this generation and in the last generation. So it wasn't just because they downplayed each other's exploits, but it was because the government covered up the actions of the Rocks Pirates. But back then, essentially, when Roger, Sengoku, Garp were alive, their name was known throughout the world. And 38 years ago, a fateful incident occurred at a place known as God Valley. On that day, the Rocks, the strongest pirate crew in the world, they perished on the island, and apparently this was really big news. Now, first off, this place is called God Valley. I mean, like, what a way to, that name instantly makes me feel like, oh shit, like something's big about this island. Something's happened on this island that is crazy. And also the fact that the government has kind of now covered up its location. The island supposedly has been lost and isn't on any maps. So we're not sure if the island has just been destroyed or whether there's something on it which is being hidden. For instance, Captain John's treasure, or maybe even the lost fourth red poneglyph. So there's a whole bunch of like lore that could be attached to this island itself. But the other thing is that this island, this event, sorry, this I think it was called, what was it called? It was something to do with the God Valley incident or the God Island incident. Occurred 38 years ago. I think we know that Blackbeard is around the age of about 40, so this was just as maybe he was either born around that time or just before that time. We know that Shanks wouldn't have really, I think Shanks is like 39 or some shit, so he would have been very young at that time as well. Big Mom would have been 38 years-ish younger, so she would have only had about like half of her kids at that point, maybe even less. Probably only about 20, 30 of her kids back then. So it's weird that, Big Mom must have had like 20, 30 kids and she was on the Rocks crew, Did she just have a whole gaggle of these kids just running around causing havoc on the ship? Who was taking care of them? I don't know. But anyway, we continue. This is where we find out that the Rocks pirates on God Valley, or in God Valley, on this God Valley island, whatever it is, they're rampaging, they're evil because they're meant to be really evil. I mean, this is coming from the perspective of Sengoku. Obviously as a Marine, he's going to say these guys are evil, but we don't know what their story was. We don't know what their ambition was besides being king of the world essentially, which was Rox's ambition. But this was where the God Valley incident was, where the hero of the Marines, Vice Admiral Garp, who's at the time, this is where he got his name. This is where he got the name of hero of the Marines. He on that island he was responsible for taking down the Rocks pirates. So the Rocks pirates with Shiki, with Shaki, with freaking Weevil's mom, I think, with Whitebeard, with friggin' Kaido, Big Mom, all these big names, Shiki, they were stopped by freaking, this is where he got his name from. Garp is the hero of the Marines because he stopped the Rocks pirates. This is where he extinguished them essentially. He caused them to disband. But Sengoku makes mention here is like, but Garp doesn't like to talk about it. He'll acknowledge the fact that he was there and that he achieved something there, but he doesn't like talking about this incident in particular. We see Garp and he finds out about Big Mom and Kaido, but Sengoku continues educating these Marines. He's like, the biggest reason why Garp doesn't like to talk about it is because he allied with a pirate during that battle. And this is me obviously going into a frenzy, like, oh my god, maybe he partnered with Shanks. Oh my god, who was he partnered with? Shanks was like 1 year old at the time. Obviously that couldn't have been the case. So the Marines are like, yo, he partnered with a pirate. Who could it have been? And apparently there was another reason why Garp was there, and it was because he had to protect the Celestial Dragons during that mission. So the Celestial Dragons were involved in all this shit as well. And this is where the Marines ask once again, they're like, isn't it our duty, as Marines to serve the Celestial Dragons? And we know that Garp, and Sengoku kind of echoes this, is that he doesn't have a love for the Celestial Dragons. His morality never really led him down that path. And the reason we find out here that Garp always rejected the title of Admiral was because he didn't want to be directly beneath the Celestial Dragons. He didn't want them to have direct control and power over him and be able to order him to do this, do that. He didn't want to have any direct subordination to the Celestial Dragons, and the only reason why he wasn't gotten rid of as a Marine was because he was extremely popular and his achievements were extensive, and that's the only reason why the Celestial Dragons couldn't get rid of him. But essentially we find out here that we know that Garp doesn't like the Celestial Dragons. But he was there to protect the Celestial Dragons for some reason. Maybe the Celestial Dragons knew that they were going to be under attack from Rocks, from Intel or something like that. But Garp was sent there, and Garp, for some reason or other, somehow managed to partner up with freaking Goldie Roger, and they encountered each other on the island, and they teamed up to defeat the Rocks pirates to protect the Celestial Dragons and their slaves, which might be a key part, because who are their slaves? Maybe there was an ulterior motive here. Maybe Roger was trying to save someone from the slavery of the Celestial Dragons. Maybe Garp was trying to save someone from the slavery of the Celestial Dragons. So maybe it wasn't so much that they were trying to save the Celestials, but more that they were trying to save the people beneath the Celestials. And this was known as the God Valley Incident. Now, obviously, this brings up a whole bunch of different questions, because we only see Garp and Roger we see Big Mom, we see Kaido's horns, we see Rocks, who looks crazy as shit. We don't actually see his face, but his hair looks really spiky, looks cool. We see Whitebeard, who's then after that he was in direct competition with Goldie Roger himself. But was it just Goldie Roger and Garp fighting against these 4 tanks? I understand that Big Mom and Kaido wouldn't have been as strong back then, but still dangerous, and Whitebeard would have still been really dangerous, and then Rox himself leading these crazy mofos would have been dangerous. But where was Shiki and stuff like that? But Goldie Roger here would have been a well-known pirate, right? Garp knew who he was. There's a reason why he partnered up with Roger. He knew that maybe they could help out each other. They had equivocal power levels. They would be able to take out someone, So was it just Goldie Roger, or was it his pirate? Was it his crew as well? Because that would make more sense. If Beckman was there, not Beckman. If Rayleigh was there, freaking what's his name, Scopper was there. Any of these guys, if they were there, then it would make more sense. Everyone goes apeshit that Garp fought alongside the Pirate King. The Celestial Dragons were involved. Roger was there. The Rocks were there. And this is where they actually ask what was on the island. What was so we've never even heard of the place. Sengoku informs us here, the island of God Valley is not on maps anymore. It's after that incident, it just disappeared without a trace. The world government wanted to hide what happened on God Valley Island. They've hidden the actual island as well from maps and things like that, from the history books, from anything. And this is where he says, Rox's ambition of becoming king of the world involves many taboo subjects. So I'm not sure what that involves, but I think that might be talking about like many of the hidden things that the world government had done to that point. The Rocks pirates knew about, or the captain knew about. So there's a reason why they didn't really like these guys, and there's a reason why the Rocks pirates obviously disliked the world government. But that's also why they couldn't release much information on the Rocks pirates, just in case people dug too deep and found out a whole bunch of shit. So this is where the rest of the Marines are just like, it seems unbelievable that there was a man capable of leading 3 of the 4 emperors. We find out here that he was from Sengoku, that he was Roger's first and most formidable rival. So it wasn't freaking Whitebeard like I thought it was, or even Shiki. It was the freaking leader of these guys in their previous generation. It was freaking Rox, who was Roger's most formidable enemy, essentially, his most formidable rival. And this is pretty funny. I was like, okay, cool. But Sengoku introduces Rox as, he says he was known as Rox, but his actual true name was Rox D. Zebek. So that's Xebec, which apparently is a type of sailing ship. But what was confusing for me here was, oh my god, we had Goldie Roger and we had Rox D. Zebek. We had 2 Ds going at it, fighting against each other, having conflicting ideals, but both disliking, the world government, both fighting for freedom, I assume it was. But Rox D. Zebek seemed to be more along the lines of, I'll fight for my own freedom, my crew's freedom, and then I'll go and take ownership of the world and, essentially revert it back to what it was before, just with me at the helm. And I think Goldie Roger was probably more along the lines of, I'm going to fight for everybody's freedom. I don't want to be in charge of the world. I just want to be the freest motherfucker out there, just like Luffy, essentially. So I think this is kind of very reminiscent and mirrors almost what we're going for with Blackbeard and Luffy. And before that, we had Rox D. Zebek and we had Goldie Roger, in terms of what their story arc is going to be, what their characters are driving for. And keynote here, actually, Blackbeard's ship. So not only is Blackbeard using the Pirates Island Beehive as his base, which is where the Rocks pirates formed, by the way, when Blackbeard would have been around about 2 years of age or some shit like that. I'm not sure how old he actually is. But his ship is called the Saber of Zebek. So I'm not sure where this is going. Is he related to Zebek? Is he his son? Is there something going on here? Or is he just simply aware of what Zebek did, or what Rox did, and he's kind of carrying on his mission, carrying on his goal? Luffy is the one that Roger is waiting for, essentially, right? So maybe it's the same thing that for Zebek. Maybe he's his kind of successor. Like in Naruto, we had Sasuke being the kind of descendant of the Eye Guys, and Naruto being the descendant of the Sage, and all that kind of shit. Maybe this is that kind of same thing. Their story arcs being repeated century or generations down the line, and the successor of Zebek is Blackbeard. The successor of Roger is going to be Luffy. But it's weird for me that 2 Ds are going against each other, even though technically they're fighting for the same thing. They're just going about it the different ways, and they're actually fighting for slightly different end goals. But Rox D. Zebek was his name. So this is where Sengoku's like, you know what, Kaido and Big Mom are much stronger now than they were 38 years ago. So if they formed an alliance, we're truly up shit creek. This could be the worst crew in the world because they have extensively large crews now. And this is where everybody got hyped. You know, we got to see the bounties of the current Yonko, and we got to see the bounties of Goldie, Roger, and freaking Whitebeard. Man, this is epic. So actually, let me do a quick check and see what Luffy's current bounty is. So Luffy's bounty at the moment is it still at, it's not 500 million, is it? No, this is number one bullshit. I'm pretty sure Luffy's bounty, Monkey D. Luffy. Alright, here we go. Let me do a quick check. Come on, Wi-Fi, don't let me down now. Where's his bounty at? Yeah, his current bounty is at 1.5 billion. That's Luffy, and he's currently being kind of labeled as the fifth of the Yonko, you know, the fifth of the four emperors, even though I'm not so sure if I buy into that, seeing what we see right now. So Sengoku asks that guy that's next to the blackboard, he's like, brand new, that's his name, what are their current bounties? Brand new's like, alright, cool, we may as well review this. The first man who became an emperor, or first the man who became an emperor 1 year ago, so the newest of the four emperors, as a result of his attack on Impel Down, he got a huge ass crew, a very powerful crew. He's the current ruler of the pirates, his island Beehive. I feel like Oda put that in there just to remind us, like, oh shit, actually when the Rocks pirates formed on Beehive, what the hell's going on here? So apparently his influence is expanding, and he's slowly overtaking Whitebeard as a force to be reckoned with. And the admiral of the Blackbeard pirates, Marshal D. Teach, his bounty is at 2.25 billion essentially. So that's 2,247,600,000. Luffy's is less than that, by about 1 billion. Actually, it's by about 1 billion. No, it's by about 7 million or 700 million. Yeah, 700 million. No, it's not. My math is going. Yeah, 700 million. So then the next emperor brand new brings up is he was first recognized in the emperor 6 years ago. So he's the youngest of the four. So this is obviously Shanks. He has truly great executives, names like Beckman, Rue, Yasop. They're a well balanced and impregnable crew, and I feel like Oda once again was not really telling us much about the redhead crew. We don't know if they, he didn't say anything like, oh, the Haki Masters or anything like that. He just said his subordinates trust him greatly, and I was like, but what are they known for? What have they done? What's their thing? But we didn't get any of that. We just get the captain of the Red Hair Pirates, Red Hair Shanks. Note the fact that Shanks hasn't called himself like the Admiral, the Great Lord, the sweet baby Jesus. He hasn't called himself any of that. He's just the captain of the Red Hair Pirates, Red Hair Shanks, with a bounty of 4,048,900,000. That's absolutely disgusting. But we all thought that Shanks would have the highest bounty out of a lot of them. He doesn't. But that could also just because he doesn't pose as much of a danger to like regular people. He won't go out and just murder a whole freaking island because he feels like it. And his crew isn't like that either. So it could just because he's not a complete jackass, and that's why his bounty. He's not a threat to civilians. So his bounty's not going to reflect that. But he is a threat to the world government and anybody else who pisses him off. Anyway, we then come to the natural born disaster person who took out a village on the giant's island Elbath when she was a mere child. She then came over and founded the country of Totland. She has 85 children. Holy crap! The captain of the Big Mom Pirates, Charlotte Linlin, with a bounty of 4,388 million. I'm not even used to counting that high. Everyone's going apeshit. They're just like, yo shit, why are these bounties so high? And then we have the person who was an apprentice when he was with the Rocks Pirates, but he was able to rally many infamous pirates to his banner thanks to his sheer strength and became an emperor in the process. Now, we haven't seen any of these infamous pirates. I mean, like, we've seen King, we've seen Queen, we've seen Jack, but these guys aren't like, were they infamous right after the disbanding of the Rocks Pirates, or were they infamous when Kaido recruited them? I don't know. So we see his bounty. The Governor General of the Beasts Pirates, Kaido of the Beasts, a bounty of 4,611,100,000. Cool. Everyone's kind of just like looking around like, yo, shit, we got to go against these guys. And this is where brand new is like, you know what, from here on we can no longer use the 7 warlords as a weapon against the 4 emperors. And to be fair, which of the freaking 7 warlords were going to do anything against the Yonko? The Yonko are an entirely different beast. So what I always questioned personally was this balance of power using the Shichibukai. Were they ever really a balance or a tertiary pillar against, you know, the Marines with their admirals and the entire Navy force and stuff like that? And the freaking Yonko, the Yonko are a different beast altogether. The Shichibukai would never be able to raise a hand against them at all. So brand new then talks about the SSG, which is that special science group. I think it might be actually called a special science group from the Marine Special Science Force. He's like, we're going to have to see what they can come out with before we can determine whether the removal of the Shichibukai was a wise decision or not. And then he goes and provides us with the bounties of freaking Whitebeard, Edward Newgate at 5,046,000,000, and the captain of the Roger Pirates, which was the Pirate King Gold D. Roger. He actually calls him Gold Roger, which was 5,564,800,000. So I thought, to be fair, I thought his bounty would have been higher. Considering Luffy's already in the billions, I thought Goldie Roger would have been like, you know, no bounty, wanted dead or something like that. A lot like Sanji's. But so brand new, and essentially the Marines, what they're worried about is, you know, no pirates were able to surpass the bounties of Edward Newgate and of Goldie Roger. But the fact that now Kaido and Big Mom have allied together, their combined bounty is above any of those two easily, which is a really bad sign for us. And they're both currently in Wano, which is unaffiliated with the world government, so shit could go down. So this is where Akainu, or Sakazuki, however you want to call him, he comes in. He's like, don't talk about Wano, we're leaving Wano alone. We don't have the resources to attend to Wano while we're attending to all the other marine shit we're doing. And he's basically addressing Sengoku. He's like, don't be filling these guys mind, like the minds of these young Marines with, like, you know, we're gonna go to Wano. Oh god, we're gonna go to Wano or some shit like that. And Sengoku's like, you know what? Nah, it's cool. I'm not trying to steer them in any one direction. All I want to do is pass on my knowledge of the past to this new generation of Marines, to let them understand that, you know, pirates can collaborate, pirates may collaborate, and their actions always have a motive behind them. So maybe they might betray each other, maybe they might have a combined or an intertwined motive that will take them somewhere new. Maybe they'll be friends forever, who knows. But essentially what he's trying to do is he's trying to educate this new generation, because he's like, if you learn about what we did in the past, if you learn about what happened in the past, you can see why these alliances are taking place. You can see why certain people are allying, like Kaido and Big Mom, and maybe you can predict a little bit more of the future when you know about the past. And if you don't know about the past, if you're ignorant of the past, you can't see the future, essentially. This is where he's walking past Sakazuki, and he's like, you know what, speaking of which, wasn't there a pirate that in Wano that Whitebeard, Goldie Roger and Shanks favored? And the Marines are just like, what? And this is Sakazuki saying, you mean Kozuki Odinson? Not only did freaking obviously Roger would have favored him because he was on his crew during the final voyage, and obviously Shanks would have been there on the final voyage, I think. But apparently Odin used to also be a division commander on Whitebeard's ship. Like, this dude was just a boss, man. I mean, I want to learn more about him. But apparently he was poached by Roger to accompany him on his final voyage, and this is essentially Sengoku saying, you know what, everybody seems to be on Wano, Kaido's on Wano, Big Mom's on Wano. This couldn't have something to do with Odin, could it? And he's like, doesn't it seem like Wano is a common factor for all of these big... This basically saying there's a coincidence. Wano seems to be at the middle of it. Don't you think we should do something about it, Sakazuki? So I think he's trying to kind of push Akainu, Sakazuki, into a corner where he's just like, you know what, maybe we should go freaking investigate whatever the frick is going down on Wano. And that's a pretty good push by Sengoku right there. So that's the entire chapter. This has been a long ass review, my longest review by far. I can't believe I just freaking spoke about One Piece for freaking 30 minutes straight. But that's the extent this chapter was, man. I mean, like, all these bounties we found out, the Captain John thing, the fact that this entire group of people were led by one guy, Rox, who Roger and Garp defeated, and then they all disbanded, but they all had their own kind of thing. it was crazy, and I think they're gonna now go to Wano. We don't know where Fujitora is going at the moment. I think he might, like, I don't think he's going to Wano. I don't actually know where he's going to go. There seem to be a lot of fish and stuff like that jumping up at him, like sea, what are they called, the kaiju kind of thing. So maybe he's on the calm belt somewhere. I don't know, but this was crazy, guys. Like, this was actually insane, and I'm gonna go and read. I've never actually done it. I've never read a full kind of post from the librarian of Ohara, I think it is. Arthur or something like that. Librarian of Ohara, Arthur, I think it is. I've never actually read a full document of his webpage, but I'm going to go and check him out. I suggest you guys go and check him out. If there's a comments page or something like that, say hi to him for me. Because he's going to have some dank analysis for this. So I'm going to go check that out. Let me know what you guys thought of this chapter. Let me know what you guys thought of this review. Let me know all your theories and stuff. Like, oh, Shanks might be Roxy's dad or his son or some shit like that. Or Blackbeard might be his son or something like that. Or why Garp and Roger decided they like those two specifically had to fight against the Rocks pirates, and was it the entire crew? Let me know all your theories and stuff like that. I'm not much of a theorist myself. I just enjoy the story. So let me know what you guys thought. Let me know what you guys liked about this chapter. Like, comment, subscribe, all of that good stuff. And I'll see you guys tomorrow, hopefully, when I release my My Hero Academia review. So I'll see you guys in a bit.